Welcome to the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. Yours truly, the Exceptional One, is in. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican, then to the Democrat. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so glad that you are with me here tonight. Dave Milner's in the chat room. God bless you. The Panthers are ahead, 10-0. Oh my goodness, this is, of course, Monday night around this country, and we are most happy about the fact that the team, also known as the Dallas Cowboys, or at least formerly known as a team at least, is suffering with a 2-5 record. Now, you know I am in the Mary, my bouncer, is in the chat roll as well at the exceptionalconservativeshow.com. Smooches, love you, Mary. Love you indeed. Now, you know the Underground Professor, who is my co-host. I must be the errand boy on New Day Black and Red, you know, something like that. But my co-host on New Day Black and Red. We often, as I am an official Texan, I am a Texan because I was granted that privilege. I am real pleased with that fact. Smokey took care of that for me, made me an honorary Texan, as his family dates back to the original settlers of the Texas Republic. Only I have that privilege. The Underground Professor does not have that privilege. I miss Smokey. We need to get Smokey back here. I miss him a whole lot. But the Dallas Cowboys are just falling apart at the wheels. They all are waiting for their messiah, Tony Romo, who is best known for failing the month of December to return. Literally, the Cowboys could be 12-0 and lose all of December, thanks to Tony Romo. But they're counting on Tony Romo to bring them back and make them a playoff caliber team. Although he'll be returning back November 22nd, I believe, for the 22nd game against Miami. Tough defense to go against, but nevertheless, the Underground Professor, I am jabbing at, teasing as much as I possibly can, because the Redskins are number 2 in the league, and Dallas is at the bottom. It's a terrible league. NFC East is terrible, just terrible, in the words of the great Negro basketball player Charles Barkley. Just terrible. But nonetheless, the Redskins are number 2. Philadelphia didn't play, and the Redskins didn't play this weekend because of a bye. I know it's getting boring to you. God bless Smokey. I love Smokey. Peaches is loved by Mary and also by me. My beloved has entered her domain, where she is watching on live stream and Ustream, the Exceptional Conservative Show, as you are watching live from the nation's capital. My man does not make a team. That's what I say, that's what I say. How can you tell me that the team is going to turn around because their messiah comes back on the... Oh, come on, stop it. Stop it. They were losing when Tony was there. Come on, stop it, people. I'm just going to say this right now. The Dallas Cowboys need to go ahead and lose the rest of the year so they can draft a quarterback. Right now, I've just offended every Dallas person who listens to my show. But that's okay. I mean it. I'm proud for your Redskins, bro. Thank you, Dave. Me too. Me too. Kel Fritz is in the chat room. Love you, Kel. Smooches, Kel. I love you, love you, love you. Glad that you're listening here tonight. Kel has a wonderful program. In fact, EDL is just awesome. Awesome to behold. Dave Milner is one of the EDL alumni. And Kel is just a wonderful producer. I hope when I go big time that Kel produces my show. There you go. Um, Mary is working the polls tomorrow, people, in the wonderful state of Ohio, the Kasich state, where he will win Ohio, and the other 49 states, Hillary Clinton will win. Kasich country. So there you go, KK. No, we're not going to enter into the story about. Maybe we should a little bit later on, as I am going through a multitude of things that I was going to talk about. But a bigger story at 9:10 when we take our break. When we come back, I want to talk with you about child abuse. And I'm going to plug what we're doing this weekend in Baltimore and also in Washington, D.C. But my friends, Sharia law is child abuse, but also what's happening in St. Paul, Minnesota, not just because of Sharia law, but because of cultural distinctions. Our founding fathers wanted there to be a cultural difference in our country, that we would leave the old world behind and become a new world that's closer to God, and certainly not practicing malevolent behavior. And so what's happening in St. Paul, Minnesota will shock you, it will scare you, but we need to talk about it. And just going back to Kasich country conversation for just one moment, we only got about 2 minutes before we go to the break. EDL. My good friend Eddie Siplin, who will be at the events this weekend in Baltimore and Maryland. I don't know about the Baltimore one specifically, but he most certainly will be at the Washington, D.C. one on Saturday. And quite frankly, I am so looking forward to not just him speaking, because he's a great guy. Eddie Siplin's a great guy. He really is. A fun man, too. Great wife. She's the brain behind the operation. I said it. But Akron, Ohio. Reverse discrimination in Akron, Ohio, where leaders, community leaders, have opposed Mr. Siplin, who is brilliant. I mean, the man is really, really very brilliant. Not just because he has lots of degrees up on the wall, but he's a very brilliant man. I've spoken with him. He's been on my program. He's been on Conservative Commandos radio program with us. He's a brilliant man. But members of the NAACP and others have used reverse discrimination against him. They have called him Uncle Tom. They have called him everything out of the book. And then at the last minute, feeling Democrats, for the first time in over 30 years in Akron, Ohio, feeling they're going to lose, tried to do a hit piece on Sunday against him. What were they going to talk about besides the fact that he's black and a Republican? That's all they had against him. The hit piece didn't work. He was invited to speak at the NAACP. He was invited to speak at a very large church in Akron. He did extremely well. I'm very proud of him. And I spoke with him Sunday night after he was speaking with a biker gang. And the biker gang supporting him up in Akron, Ohio. So I'm telling you, the Democrats just might lose Akron. And if they lose Akron, it might begin to be the domino that turns the rest of urban America around over the next decade. I'm just saying. I've been at this for 5 years, and people said, "Hey, Ken, you're crazy for doing what you do." I'm not. I'm a genius. Let's start our show off right.
I'm the executive chef of the restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepared here. So we're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage that they cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and good. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and a Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fishing grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused beef burger. So we keep the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck pan patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we add the sauce and then cook on it until it gets we're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
That's what I'm talking about, baby. That should have been mine. That should have been mine. Infused restaurant, ladies and gentlemen. I'm hungry. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm hungry. And Mary told me that the last hat I was wearing did not match the shirt I'm wearing. So I've decided to go as far country as I possibly can, and my wife has already voted against this hat with this shirt. So I don't care. I don't care if I gotta sleep outside. I'll sleep outside with my infused burger. Yeah, I will. I could have ordered one, 301-449-9000. Or I could have went to www.infuse.com. INFUSE.com. Or I could have gone to the actual restaurant at 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hill, Maryland, 20748. I could have done all that, but I didn't do that. I spent my time changing my hat so I can look impressive for all the ladies. Do I look impressive to you, ladies? Hey, baby. Like the hat? Mary, you gotta like this. I love this hat. I love this hat with this shirt. Caroline, I tell you, probably at the next break I'm gonna have to change my hat because my wife gave me that look. Like, I mean, if she want to change my hat, she ought to come in here and change the hat. Then you know what I'm saying? I ain't scared. I want to thank all of you tonight for tuning in to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We certainly are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then to the socialists. There are many things that we could talk about today. There are lots of meat issues that we could talk about, but I don't want to get into the meat tonight. I could talk about Jeff Jordan. My good friend, in fact, Lonnie Poindexter, will be joining me. And we will be talking about his travels to Salt Lake City, Utah last week, and exactly what he found and what he discovered. What he found and what he discovered. There you go. Yeah, put it all together. It's really heartbreaking what's happening in Africa. And it's all thanks to President Barack Hussein Obama. Now, the funny thing is that I would be called a racist for saying that, but it is true. He and other totalitarians, socialists, Marxists, communist strategists have gotten together, despots from the great city of the United Nations in New York. Is that a bureau to itself now, the United Nations? And they've decided that they're going to pool their resources, their legislative power, their initiatives to vanquish the culture of Africa. And we'll talk about that in the next hour. But since we're on the subject of culture, I want to talk with you about tonight's show. And you all know that I'm also the chairman of the Open Heart Closed Case campaign here in Washington, D.C. We have branched out. We just started August 9th of this year, August 9th, 2015. And yes, I was motivated by the death of my daughter. And buffeted as well by the loss of a daughter of the city, Alicia Rudd, who's been missing since March 2013. We believe she's still alive. We're hoping that she's still alive, because the only three things that you can really have, according to Paul, you got to have hope, love, and faith. You can't go hopeless, people, not until you know the truth. And so, we started the Open Heart Closed Case campaign August 9th, 2015 of this year. And I want to thank the good people from the Anacostia Coordinating Council, which support this particular endeavor. It gave me the opportunity to be the public safety chairperson, or at least in this particular route, we deal with the issues of unresolved homicides. We deal with the issues of missing persons. And finally, the issues regarding exploited children. You know my heart. I love children. You hear it when we play the Pledge of Allegiance. If you don't hear Senor Cabrera, you will hear the kids sing the Pledge of Allegiance on my show. I believe it's an art form that has been lost on this and the last generation in America. Children are not our future, they are our present. They are our gift from God. That's how you know they are our present. And what they experience in their youth, they channel that into their old age. And so Dave and Kel and Mary and I and others have been fighting against Sharia law coming to this country, because we know the truth, the exposition. It's not about religion. That's not it. It's about the domination of women and children. It is about the perverse action of expanding on that domination in the institute of marriage. It is also a bridge to oppressing individuals and disenfranchising them from a civilized society. I don't know how getting dressed in all black with his 120 degrees is a generally acceptable thing to any God. Now, I don't believe that you should go naked through the Walmart either, but by God, and I do mean the true one, you certainly do not show glory to God by covering what He created. If what He created was so bad, why not cover yourself? I digress. Talking about child abuse. And what I want to do before we really get into this is that I want to define for you exactly what child abuse is, because too many of us believe that spanking a kid is child abuse. Okay. I don't believe that. I believe that you should discipline your children. If you don't, then you ruin their life and you ruin your future. They are our present. They are not our friend. You need to discipline your children. The definition, according to the federal law of child abuse and neglect, is cited in the Federal Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, CAPTA, U.S. Code 42, Section 5106G, as amended by the CAPTA Reauthorization Act of 2010, defines child abuse and neglect as, at a minimum, they're reasonable, at the minimum, any recent act or failure to act on the part of a parent or caretaker which results in death, serious physical or emotional harm, sexual abuse or exploitation, or an act or failure to act which presents an imminent risk of serious harm. An imminent risk of serious harm. According to this particular definition, child abuse and neglect refer specifically to parents and other caregivers. A child is defined as a person who is younger than age 18 and who is not an emancipated minor. Now, I don't know why you need another emancipation. The first one was good enough for me, but apparently we do emancipate minors. While CAPTA provides definitions for sexual abuse and specific cases of neglect related to withholding or failing to provide medically indicated treatment, it does not provide specific definitions for other types of maltreatment such as physical abuse, neglect, or emotional abuse. While federal legislation sets minimum standards for states that accept CAPTA funding, each state provides its own definitions of maltreatment within civil and criminal statutes. That's why in some cases you can marry a child at age 16. I don't know why, but you can. Consensual sex is normally left to age 18, which creates a small conundrum. What are you going to withhold for 2 years until you actually? So I don't. But child abuse is any recent act or failure to act on the part of a parent. And I just want to be very frank with you. Or Peter or Paul, it doesn't matter. I could be any of those to you. In truth, we have been failing our children for 2 or 3 generations now. In fact, you might want to go back 4 generations since the Civil War. We have really been failing our children. Now, some people would say, hey, you don't want people just taking irons and taking switches and tree trunks and stuff like that and killing their kids and stuff like that. No. Why do you go to that extreme? Well, the simplicity of it all is that you fail. If you fail to be a parent, you're abusing the child. If you fail to be the parent. So when you tell me that you want to be your child's friend, I know that you're practicing child abuse. At least by that definition. So if you're practicing child abuse, at least by that definition, okay, why do we have to get so severe as to think that picking up a broom handle and slapping the kid against the head, that's child abuse? When we fail our children, when we tell the President of the United States that he has an open checkbook that he can write without worry, without fear, does that not fit with the Child Abuse and Neglect Code means? Take a look again. any recent act or failure to act on the part of a parent or caretaker which results in death, serious physical, or an act or failure to act which presents an imminent risk or serious harm. Now, I might be a little bit hyperbolic regarding that, but what I'm saying to you is when we put our children in harm's way, we are not acting as a parent or caregiver or caretaker. Obamacare is not caretaking, it's actually putting people in harm's way. When we put our children in harm's way, we abuse them. So, Kim, what are you talking about? Why are you so upset tonight? Why are you mentioning the fact that this weekend in Washington, D.C., you'll be hosting 2 events? One on a Friday night, actually one in Baltimore on November the 6th, Friday, November the 6th at 7 p.m. at the Junior League of Baltimore. We will be hosting a conversation on public safety, defeating the culture of fear and death. And Wellington Boone, Bishop Wellington Boone, will be our keynote speaker. Also, we will have Judge Sherilyn Allen. You've heard her on our program before. You heard her on Conservative Commandos Radio. She will be with us. In addition to that, we will have, hopefully, Mayor Eddie Siplin. And I know certainly that we will have Alderman Jeffrey Boyd with us. Jeffrey Boyd suffered the same type of ailment I suffered. The disease being a violent, immature community. Gangs, 2 gangs at least, set my daughter up to be killed. Jeffrey Boyd lost his nephew to a drive-by shooting. So we share that. We're across the aisle for one another, but we share that. And so our hearts are bound to end this senseless violence. So that's going to be Friday night. And you can come. Hey, we encourage everyone, if you're listening, come. We really do. We want you to have a wonderful experience. On Saturday at 11 a.m., Bishop Wellington Boone will be presenting at Living Word Church, 4101 Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue Southwest. Admission is free. He will be joined by a good friend of mine now, a world-renowned private investigator, Howie Coleman. You may have heard him on last week's Conservative Commandos radio show with Rick Trader, the affable, lovable, benevolent dictator that he is. And we talked about the matter in Columbia in the school. Some people thought that was abusive. Some of us might differ on terms of abuse in that regard. So Howie will be there, and then Eddie Siplin and Jeffrey Boyd will also be there. So we will round it out in a conversation on defeating the culture of fear and death. Now, why would these men come from all around the country, and these are men, besides Judge Sherilyn Allen? That's a beautiful woman. God bless her soul. But these are men. These are men who understand that in our culture, our women need to be protected and our children need to be protected. And we know you need to know the difference between what a woman is and what a girl is. When we come back, Sarah Horner has written a story in TwinCities.com that I think that you might want to read. It is about the Hmong community. And that's why tonight's show is entitled, in fact, Child Abuse. Who among us has not sinned? Ladies and gentlemen, there are child brides not just in Sharia, but also in the Hmong community. This needs to stop, and we need to be the ones to stop it. When we come back, we will be listening to a conversation, at least, or at least a we're not going to listen to a conversation. We're actually going to be listening to me tell you about what's happening on in St. Paul. We'll be back.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of the restaurant, and today I'm walking through some of the meals that we prepared here. So we're making a big salad. We use fresh Italian sausage that they cook here and slice it up. Our pizza cup is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and original. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and a Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia noodles, our fishing dish on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused beef burger. So we keep the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck pan patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burgers, we add the sauce, let it cook on it so it looks a little better. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
I wish that was mine. Oh, that burger looks so good. That burger looks so good. Listen, 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. That's infused.com. I want to thank the people who called last week, the Infused Restaurant, to let them know that they're being advertised on the Exceptional Conservative Show. I really appreciate that. And I plan on taking my wife there, hopefully, sometime this weekend. We can enjoy our burger or maybe brunch. Sunday mornings were best made for brunch. No, I mean church. Yeah, that's what I meant. So, Ladies and gentlemen, 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. It is still time. You can put in your order right now. Right now, you can put in your order, go pick it up, come back, listen to the rest of this particular program, and never skip a beat. Because if you actually download Ustream on your phone, you can follow me wherever you go. My wife was so shocked and impressed that at 9 p.m. every night on her laptop, since she's downloaded Ustream as an app, the show pops up. It starts right on time for her. Awesome. I love it. I absolutely love it. So, ladies and gentlemen, make it your plan of action. 301-449-9000. Get in there and get your burger, girl. Put some meat on them bones. It is unreal, Kel, that someone would look at a little girl and think, that's the one I should be married to. And so tonight I want to talk with you about open secret of child bride roles, Twin Cities, Hmong community. But I want you all to understand, first and foremost, I am not taking a pot shot at the Hmong community. I'm not. They helped us during the Vietnam War. Many came here and resettled in order to avoid the persecution of the Marxist Communist Society. But sometimes when we leave the worst of situations for a better climate, sometimes we take the worst of our culture, we bring it here. So I want to make it very clear. Not every American who calls themselves a Hmong, H-M-O-N-G, is practicing this. There are Christians in this group, Jews in this group. But there are some, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just play this because I want you to get a feel for who the Hmong Americans are.
20 years ago, I probably would have just said Hmong people who who are from Laos or Thailand. Nowadays, Hmong Americans are, you could be biracial, you could be from France, you could be immigrants, refugees, you could speak Hmong, you might not be able to speak Hmong. So I feel like Hmong America is, I think we share a history. I think Hmong Americans are evolving, and that's sort of exciting.
Something visceral, there's something passionate about being Hmong, but no physical location to ground us. We're grounded by our culture, our language, our family. Therefore, for me, being Hmong means being part of something bigger than just yourself.
To bring the best of our culture, what we know of it, even if that means challenging the Hmong and the American culture, and to really be productive members of society and be responsible.
You have to have a professional identity in addition to your cultural identity. And being a Hmong American means that you have to be able to retain your culture by getting an education and living with the American people within the American community. You have to keep a balance between the two cultures.
Tôi nói cái chuyện về cái cái sợi nhỉ nhóm bị tóc đó thì cái nhóm bị chuyện nào bị là tóc của họ nên khi dùng cái chọn khác nó thì cái lưu đồ thì này nó bốc thì cái chọn mình tôi dùng cái dùng nhớ cái chuyện nó chỉ là American.
We have to embrace our culture, our tradition, what our parents fought for, obviously, back in the war, and then to somehow learn how to connect that together with our current new culture in America. So Hmong American, just embracing both cultures and finding a way to merge it successfully.
I think that definition is so broad, but there's one thing an elderly told me a long time ago. He said, "Who's not being Mona? They Charles you. They Charles Lucia. Yeah, so someone that Lucia to being Charles you. So, in other words, humility. Never ever forget where you come from and what it means to be Hmong. But I think to be a Hmong American, you just have to respect. That's the key word. Respect the cultures and customs that identify who we are. I think once you lose that respect, you lose the sense of your Hmongness.
we need to just have faith in each other. Have faith that things will be okay if only we work together.
Through social media, such as Facebook and YouTube, just anything like that.
We can like introduce technology to older adults who doesn't know about technology or know how to use it.
It's going to take a long process, but I think we can start now. That is to have more positive role model in the political system and the entertainment system.
We need to do more cross-sectional work and also recognize our privileges in our community, that as an individual we're face very different situations. The last phase is for us to really build the courage to name the issues that are impacting our communities the most.
Vậy nên đó có kiểu và bây giờ dân xe nó có phát triển kinh tế không kiểu như bây giờ bao nhiêu xe mà sao được vậy mà bây giờ chúng ta không được cái khó xã hội cái này trái lại là cho là cái những cái là còn là những phát triển kinh như chúng ta được vô chấp lại I
would love to see people get along better. I mean, I feel like we are so against each other and so competitive that we sometimes just need to step back and, praise each other for how far we've gotten.
I think our Hmong community is expanding. So in terms of to keeping it together, to claim the Hmong identity, first to respect it, keeping us together. There's a saying Nelson Mandela said, if you light your own candle and you conquer your own fear, indirectly you give others the permission to do the same. So the essence of the translated Hmong is that, like, you tell you the king, you tell you you tell you family, indirectly they can understand and relate to you and connect with you. So you don't have to talk with them over the phone or Facebook each other or IM or email each other, but you have this sense that wow, you and I both honor this definition of harmonious. So I think that's how we stay connected.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let me just make it very clear to you before I really get involved in this particular story. I am not bashing the Hmong community. Want to let you know that. I am not saying that everyone in the Hmong community acts and believes this way. What a lot of people do is start the chatter, and the reason why I played also the played the portion in which the gentleman was speaking in the alternative languages was basically to, because I know that some Hmongs are listening right now because they're waiting for someone to step out there, and thank God you tuned in tonight and you're watching on the down low if you are, and that's wonderful. But I'm not bashing the entire culture. What I'm bashing, like in Washington, like in Dallas, like in Chicago, like in Los Angeles, and even in Kansas City, what I am bashing is even in our own culture, the subcultures of evil. Yeah, I said it, the subcultures of evil. Those who like to actually prey upon the weak, the young, and the defenseless. See, bring it on from me. I'm an old man. I'll take you, ain't no thing. Bring it on. But to look at a 9-year-old girl and think to yourself that that 9-year-old girl is worthy of a night in bed with you. They're all forms of child abuse, people. One of the worst things that can happen is if we believe with all of our heart that if we were quiet, we didn't say anything, don't worry, nobody's going to get hurt, she'll get over it, she'll get counseling, she'll be fine. That's not acceptable. No amount of social work can take away the spoils of a lost youth. Sarah Horner writes Open Secret of Child Brides Royals Twin Cities Hmong Community. So this is actually here in Minnesota, the United States of America, and there is a large contingency of Asian Pacific dwellers in Minnesota. She writes, child brides forced to have children themselves and live with abuse. First wives suddenly abandoned, children neglected. Decades after the Hmong resettled in Minnesota, a growing number of community members are speaking out about an issue they say is tearing their families apart. Now, can I put that in the chat room? Y'all don't mind if I want to stop in some places here because a lot of people say that I am just over the top with this and I am incensed with this and have become radicalized. I wish I would just shut up about all this stuff and go away. Listen, people aren't killing as many people as they used to on the streets, kid. Unresolved homicides. We saw 3 cases, kid. Isn't that good? Shut up already. Yeah, that's what they want, but I'm not going to. She says, decades after the Hmong resettled in Minnesota, a growing number of community members are speaking out about an issue they say is tearing their families apart. So don't tell me that unresolved homicides don't touch the individual and families. Don't tell me that missing persons don't touch the individuals and families. And certainly don't tell me that exploited children does not touch individuals and families. They are tearing this issue of exploitation of our children is literally tearing across the fabric of what we call our society in more ways than just the physical. I saw a picture earlier today in which the human trafficking groups and organizations are advertising and encouraging people to be ever mindful, ever watchful, very vigilant on these particular matters. But they had the little girls dressed up in women's clothing, standing at the bar with an old guy. I want to let you all know something about exploitation. A lot of people think that it is men exploiting women. The majority of children that are exploited in America are boys. The majority of children exploited in America are boys. Why do you think the LGBT community was working so hard to be a part of the Boy Scouts of America? Oh, because they want to be leaders, scout leaders? No. Easy access. You got to recruit. Listen, Horner goes on and writes, decades after they settled, we were at the part, but local domestic violence victim advocates and female leaders in the Hmong community say an increasing number of Hmong men are returning to Laos to have relationships with and sometimes marry significantly younger women or underage girls. Many of these men are still married to women or to wives in the U.S. I know marriage problems and affairs happen everywhere, in every culture. But this is a new thing for the Hmong people, said Lai Vang, former director of the Association for the Advancement Among Women. And I have invited the Association for the Advancement Among Women to attend the events this weekend. You're welcome. Come on. Come one, come all. These are issues that need to be talked about. Apparently, a federal lawsuit has been filed by a local Hmong woman alleging she was trafficked and sexually exploited recently, thrusts the issue and concerns for child brides into mainstream awareness. Some say it has been an open secret in the Hmong community for years. Though child brides have been in the focus of the media coverage, interviews with dozens of community leaders, domestic violence counselors, and advocates for Hmong women say the problem cuts much deeper. You want to find out how deep it cuts? Pay attention. Families are being torn apart. They repeat it again. The point is very clear. Why do you introduce Sharia law? It's not because you want to bring people together, but that you wish to dominate them and pull them apart. But this is not a practice of Sharia. This is a subcultural practice of infidelity. We'll find out why a little bit later on. But the extent of the impact, though, is unknown. There is no specific data kept on such cases, as advocates rely on the stories of women who come to them for help. A 2012 report involving domestic violence victim advocates in Wisconsin who work with the Hmong community on the issue examined the root causes and consequences of these relationships. While also unable to quantify its prevalence, it said every Hmong family was feeling repercussions in some capacity. I'm getting ready to put that in the chat room, because I'm being told, and I spoke with a Jehovah's Witness today, and I'm going to let you all know, Jehovah's Witnesses, I am a Bible-believing Christian, but I don't have to, but I have the ability. I just want to let you all know that. I remember speaking with a Jehovah's Witness once, and she questioned me on something, or questioned my legitimate response on something. And I pulled out my Greek and Hebrew Bible. She was with 4 other women who were trying to challenge me on the scriptures. I went to my car and pulled out the Greek and Hebrew King James Version Bible and said, let's roll. Do you know 3 of the women left her standing there arguing with me and locked the car doors because she couldn't get in? And I schooled her, and do you know at the end of that conversation, she stated, no one has ever opened the scriptures to me like that. I have to really rethink what I'm doing. You can save some souls. You really can. But I say that to say this. Just like the 3 that left her alone, that she might be saved, there are families that are isolated, or individuals within families that are isolated simply because they don't have anyone to talk to, they don't have anyone to tell, and they're living an oppressive life. While also unable to quantify its prevalence, it said every Hmong family was feeling repercussions. Unresolved homicides, missing persons, exploited children. Everyone feels the repercussions, baby. Everybody. The Hmong culture, and this is taken from the great old Wikipedia, of course. The Hmong culture usually consists of a dominant hierarchy within the family. Males hold dominance over females, and thus a father is considered the head in each household. I don't know about you all, but I grew up in a household where my dad was king. All right. And it took a long time for me to challenge him. When I was age 16 when I challenged him, and it was the last time I challenged him. My dad was king. But he didn't dominate his wife. He saw his wife in the capacity of what the Bible said as a helpmeet. He turned to her in confidence, depended on her in things of matters of the heart as well as the home, and worked night and day so that she could stay home and raise the kids. But he never dominated her. And to this day, he doesn't dominate her. In fact, I think it's the other way around. But a father is considered the head in each household. Courtships take place during the night when a man goes to visit a woman at her house and tries to woo her with sweet talks through the thin walls of the house, where the woman's bedroom may be located. If a man kidnaps an unwilling woman as a bride, she would have to marry him or risk having a tarnished reputation. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'm letting you know, there are some subcultures that are being brought into our culture as a nation that believes in Christ, conservatism, constitutionalism, and capitalism. We believe in liberty and freedom for all. But there are some cultures, subcultures that are being brought in And they're trying to turn that on its axis, turn it around. And I've spoken with women in some of these cultures, Latinas I've spoken with, who feel that if age 16 they are not married, something's wrong with them. If they haven't given up the ghost, something's wrong with them. For these young ladies, they have been trained to believe that if they don't give it up, then their reputations are tarnished. Ladies and gentlemen, open secrets of child abuse is what it is. She goes on to write, she says, in the past our community has condoned this, but now we know what the consequences are to the families in Laos, to the girls we bring here, to the children this gives birth to. This is like a cancer. Child abuse is. It hurts all of us. Her said, we can no longer remain silent for fear it's going to shed negative light on our community. It's time for people to stand up and say we are against this. People ask me, Ken, why are you holding these town hall assemblies? Isn't that something that a politician does? No, it's something that a citizen does when they care about their sheep. Caretakers. Hmong community caretakers. Hear your women tonight. They're telling you with all certainty that they're angry about this. They don't want this to continue. You're in America now. Stop. I just want to read this right here. Chick Davy, co-director of the San Francisco-based Asian Pacific Institute on Gender-Based Violence, Dabby, authored the 2012 report. According to federal official familiar with the Laotian child bride issue, a good number of the girls involved are between 12 and 17. Ladies, be careful when you walk at night. Don't walk alone. Some of the underage wives get documents falsified via bribes. The practice is not uncommon in rural villages that do not keep official birth records. The young brides are looking to escape poverty in Laos and help their families. It's common for a family to receive a $5,000 bride price. In some cases, the young brides solicit Hmong suitors, in the U.S. as a ticket to a better life. Their pictures are circulated via DVDs at local libraries and on the internet. Facebook babies. The official whose agency is based in Washington, D.C. asked not to be named because she is not authorized to speak on the issue. An open secret. When we come back in the fourth quarter of the Exceptional Conservative Show, after our conversation with our great friend, Lonnie Poindexter, I want to continue down this vein and talk about child abuse and its impact on our society and how you can change our society. Yes, you. All we need is a commitment from you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask that you do me a great favor tonight. No, I'm not asking for millions of dollars. In fact, I encourage people not to do that kind of stuff. But this is what I am asking you to do. Tonight I'm putting in the Facebook address for Open Heart Closed Case campaign. Would you do me the great honor, the great favor? Would you please get this out to the world? This is where people can come to feel safe, where we can deal with the issues, where we can change lives. It's not an accident you're listening tonight, because I believe in God-fearing revelation. But it will be an accident if you left here tonight and you didn't speak out for the unresolved homicide victims and their families, for the cold cases and their families, for the missing persons and their families, and for exploited children. When did a 12-year-old girl become so titillating that she must be taken from your house? When did your little boy become so tempting that a gang would kidnap him and sell him in human trafficking? It's real, people. I told a Jehovah's Witness that today, who told me that she's never witnessed a murder, never witnessed a missing person, never witnessed any of that stuff, but she certainly can witness to me about Jesus, whom she's never seen. We'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, one ringy dingy, two ringy dingy, three ringy dingy. We're calling the most handsome man on radio, one of the most brilliant men in radio as well, the host of LIONCHASERS, the ambassador of the Urban Family Talk Network, none other than the great Lonnie Poindexter. Good evening, Lonnie. It's a pleasure to have you on the air with us.
Good evening, my fellow LIONCHASER. Hello, patriots out there across this great nation.
Thank you, sir. It is great to have you with us tonight. A solemn conversation tonight about an issue that means so much to all of us, how we treat our children. You're coming right off of the World Congress regarding families. I first and foremost want to get your comments, if you've been listening, about the open secret in the Hmong community of child brides. Your thoughts?
Well, I would like to say that I'm surprised, but I'm finding that nothing much surprises me anymore. We know that one of our chief charters, as those who believe in a creator and his son Jesus, is we are to promote the gospel across the great nation. And we need to break down those strongholds of traditions and things that are important that are taking place across this great world. So this is one of those things that is happening within the community. I guess it's a tradition within certain factions of that community, and obviously needs to stop. I'm appalled, but I mean, obviously anyone that has any kind of a modicum of decency would be appalled.
Exactly. Sir, have you got any rest? Because I know that you were wilding it up out there in Salt Lake City.
Man, I gotta tell you, I am dragging a little bit, but it's not because I was hanging out partying in clubs all night. And let me just state for the record, there's not a whole lot of that in Salt Lake City anyway, so even if you wanted to, it'd be hard to find.
Oh, hanging out with the Tabernacle Choir.
Yeah. I saw streets and maintenance workers rolling up the streets at about 10 p.m. in Salt Lake all over the city.
You know what time it is. Go home, people. There is a travesty about, people use tragedy a lot, but travesty would be a very accurate description. What the U.S. and the United Nations are collectively doing under the Barack Obama, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, now present Secretary of State John Kerry, against children in Africa. Would you talk with us about that, sir?
Yes, one of the high points of attending the World Congress of Families is I got a chance to meet with and connect with CARICOM Assembly of Nations, which is an assembly of about 15 Caribbean nations, all the names that you remember, and even some from Anguilla, Antigua, Barbados, Jamaica, the Bahamas, Belize, and several other nations who escape me right now that were in attendance at the event. And from hearing the initial address on Monday by Teresa Okafor, who is from Nigeria, and she was got the award of Woman of the Year, she said something that was really riveting to us, and it ended up facilitating a meeting that we had subsequently. She said, and I'll try to quote what she said, if we don't kill Planned Parenthood in America, she said, Planned Parenthood will destroy Africa.
Mm.
It was riveting. It was Monday's pre-meeting before the main event, about 250 people in attendance from various nations around the world. The CARICOM contingent was there. It rocked me. I had 5 pastors with me, including Pastor Ralph Chittims, Pastor Donovan Larkins, Pastor Everett Spencer, Pastor Owen Alston, Reverend Dean Nelson, and a couple of names I'm leaving out I can't think of right now. It was riveting. So from that, Pastor Donovan came to me and said, Lonnie, we got to do something. We need to meet with them. So we had a separate meeting during the conference so that they could talk with us about what they're seeing in their nations. This dovetails right into what you're talking about, Ken. They stated that the United Nations, working in conjunction with the State Department, is strong-arming their nations, and I don't know if the correct term is extortion, but let me just put it to you this way. What they're telling those island nations is this: if you don't comply with this new set of policies, which includes same-sex marriage and repealing the sodomy laws and all this other sundry horrid stuff, we are going to withhold federal funding to your nations. Now, we know the African nations told them to pound sand, Kenya, and I believe Nigeria, to be specific, but the island nations said the same thing.
Wow.
So here we are paying our tax dollars, and unbeknownst to us, our State Department, including Kerry and his associates, and let me tell you, when he has his official visits there, that does not take into account when he's back in the States and he's sending his emissaries to those nations and their influence. And here's the things that I heard. Ken, they are performing abortions in African nations where it's against the law, and they're performing them anyway. The infamous back alley abortions, fully supported by Planned Parenthood.
Yeah. Yeah. And the sad thing is that, and we're in the hood and everything, the brothers and sisters of the hood, they couldn't conceive this concoction. Obama is just the greatest thing since Swiss cheese. He's not killing babies, but yes, this administration is. And they're forcing the most impoverished nations to submit to their doministic and treacherous laws and pursuits.
Well, brother, I was shocked. I mean, I'd heard some scuttlebutt about this, but they were very specific in recounting to us instances of individuals showing up from Planned Parenthood, money exchanging hands, all these types of things. And so they're looking to us. And here's the other thing that really riveted me. Many of them were clergy as well as being involved with these nonprofit organizations and representative of their nations. They said this. They said that when they look to the black community, the eyes that they have or the vision they have is through media, through television. And their vision is the mega preachers that you see here, all the household names, with the big black mega churches in America, and they presuppose that represents the faith-based community that happens to be black in America.
Wow.
So when they met us, my contingent of clergy and myself, they said, "Oh my God, you guys don't represent that at all." I said, "No." I said, "In fact, if you're seeing what's on TV, that's tomfoolery. What you're seeing there, that's the prosperity gospel and all that." And let me just state for the record, none of those mega ministries are doing jack about pushing back on the darkness and the evil agenda in America.
Yeah,
you're completely silent, nothing but crickets. And they said, "Well, we thought that's how all black Americans thought." I said, "Oh my God, no."
Yeah.
Oh my God, no, there's a remnant that God is raising up. I'm a part of that remnant, and I named you and several others that are here fighting the good fight, and we are Americans and patriots who just happen to be black, and so they're looking to us to help them over there.
Wow, we're talking with Lonnie Poindexter, the host of LIONCHASERS or Urban Family Talk. You can listen to him from 11 to 1 Monday through Fridays on Urban Family Talk. And make it a part of your browser. You just star it up there and make certain that you tune in during the day before you check in with Rush Limbaugh. It's true. It's true. Now, you went out there with these ministers. And these ministers sit down with foreign leaders. Were all of them taken aback just like you to hear this?
They were all taken aback, and they all pushed me that we need to do something. One of the things about the pastors that are in our Urban Family Pastoral Network, and in our greater network, which includes those within your network and your show and program, the one thing that we're not is shrinking violence.
Yep.
We're lion chasers. These gentlemen step up, and they want to do something. They're action-oriented men, and some women as well. I don't want to leave the ladies out.
Yeah.
And so they collectively said, "What are we going to do?" So we had a special meeting with the contingent that was there, and we're going to be coming forth very shortly with some initiatives that we're going to put forth. We're going to do what we can to help them. We'll do what we can here in our nation's capital and also on their native soil as well. But they were really encouraged that they met men and women like ourselves who did not fit the false narrative, did not fit the, like I said, what they see on TV. And I just was really appalled. I said, "No, do not let these prosperity pimps that you see on TV depict for you what is the American ideal from a black perspective. It's just what you see on TV. You need to look to social media, you have to look through our networks and the Christian broadcasting and so forth to learn of the truth. We are lion chasers. We're not going to sit there and just take this." I was just appalled. For the first time in history, for the first time as an American, I was ashamed to be an American.
Wow.
It caught me off guard. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, "Whoa, wait a minute. We're doing what? What are we doing over there?"
It melts my heart when I hear Richard Simba come on our program and talk about this. It melts my heart as well to hear that our African ancestors and now descendants look at us as those who wish to crush and kill them. And we're the first one to go run out and put a dashiki on talking about black power. You know what I'm saying? It's what shame this is for us to be shrinking away and falling back and saying that ideological beats faith. Our children are dying. Their children are dying. And we're voting in the people to make it happen.
And we're underwriting through programs and through funding and so forth, things that are continuing to decimate the communities. The numbers they threw at me, now the national average with single parenting in the black community and urban centers in the U.S. is about 70%. Some places it's higher, like in Southeast D.C. it's 89. They told me the numbers of black children born outside of marriage in Jamaica is approaching 90%.
Woo!
And believe it was 80%. All the numbers were through, and these are all nations where according to them, our State Department, who is pushing this agenda of the acceptance of this quote-unquote new belief system that America's pushing globally. And here's the thing that blew me away. We're talking about the island nations, correct?
Yeah.
I also met nations today, that's the new battleground for the same agenda.
Really? You know, the absence of the church in Europe opens up the doors for such havoc and chaos. And our families are suffering from that. We were talking earlier about the Hmong community in St. Paul, Minneapolis, the Twin Cities, and that the repercussions touch every life. Yet you have such cold people here who say, well, you know what, people can, have an abortion, people can, they can just, we should force our values on them. How is it not forcing abortion on other people if we're supportive of this?
It's ridiculous. It's appalling. But I'm encouraged because men and women of faith in America are still standing, like the illustrious listeners of your show. And it lets me know that I'm not alone, you're not alone, and we can win this fight. In fact, if we turn to the end of the book of Revelation, it says we win.
Yep.
But we still have to show up for every battle, and we have to be prepared, and we have to be as cagey as our adversaries are. But I got to tell you, attending this event let me know that we're not alone in the world. There are men and women of faith all over the world. There were 53 nations represented at this event.
Wow. I'm just glad that you went and Dean went and all the other ministers were there to represent us. I'm hoping that there will be a larger contingency at the next World Congress of families of Americans who happen to be black, who are ministers and pastors, and happen to be Hispanic, happen to be Asian, happen to be from the Hmong community. We need to wake up and believe that our families matter, because when they don't, our culture dies. I want to ask you, sir, in terms of your thoughts on some of the stuff that's been happening back here. One of the big things is at the beginning of this month, November 1, there was a release of 6,000 prisoners who were nonviolent prisoners from the jail system. And the Obama administration is proudly touting that and encouraging Congress to change the laws to make crimes less, the penalties for crimes to be less harsh, per se, than they are, thus emptying the jails. Is this a political, fiat, or is this a serious reform that's taken up by the American people in terms of prison populations and so on?
Well, you're setting me up to knock it out the park. I know you already know the answer to this. Of course it's political. What they're doing is they are encouraging a new voter constituency, not unlike what they're doing with all these quote-unquote refugees that are coming from the Middle East. It's a shame, but those of us we might have been born in night, but not last night. We understand the lay of the land.
Yeah.
And, so we just need to get the truth out of this.
Yeah, because you're looking at now the prison population has been the population they've always wanted to vote Democrat, and they normally come from Democrat families, and then you have the immigrants south of the border and now from Europe via the Middle East. And he says that all of them are coming here for prosperity and for all the jobs that are being created. And last time I looked, I didn't see too many jobs being created in America, enough to take on the flow from the Middle East, from Mexico, and for the prison system. What's going to happen to America when we all get here and we realize that here ain't enough to keep all of us?
Well, I think what they're doing is obviously they're creating a dependent class. And when you have a created dependent class that will be dependent upon government, it will further erode and put us more into debt as we deal with all these individuals. I would feel the term, and they are low information voters.
Yeah.
And there'll be low hanging fruit for them to evangelize them into a voting constituency, and that we'll all be dealing with. And as I'm sure you know, what are the jobs? I mean, in Washington, D.C., our hometown, I can't tell how many times I run across college graduates working as a barista at your local Starbucks.
Thank you.
Their degrees and almost $100,000 in debt, and they still got to live at home with mom and dad.
Exactly. We're talking about you spent $300,000 to get that degree, and where are you working? We are not creating the jobs necessary to keep us going. We're talking with Lonnie Poindexter from LIONCHASER show. He is the host of that on the Urban Family Network. Tell them how members who are listening on the download can listen to you and also become a part of your pastoral network.
It certainly can. Listen up. You got to sneak and listen on the download because you said so your family members aren't as conservative as you. You can do that by going to urbanfamilytalk.com. That's urbanfamilytalk.com. My show is called The LIONCHASER Show. Broadcast Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. Eastern until 1 p.m. Eastern. And also, if you want to join the Urban Family Pastoral Network, click on the link that says Calling All Pastors on the main menu bar which says Pastors, and it takes you about 30-45 seconds to fill out the information. You do not have to be a pastor to join. We're just trying to collect and or aggregate a remnant that will take a stand in these interesting times that we're in, and we look to connect with other faith-based organizations across the nation. And just to give you an example of the types of things that we do, the contingent of pastors that I took to this event in Salt Lake City for the World Congress of Families is just an example of the type of things that we do. Let me just point out, World Congress of Families next year will be in the country of Georgia in Europe. It will be in May. If you go to WCF9.org, that's WC as in Charlie, F as in Frank, 9.org. You can learn more information about that.
I want to ask you quickly before you go. You have Senator, forgive me, the Senator from Hatch, Orrin Hatch, and also Lamar Alexander from Tennessee, and they want to investigate why Obamacare co-ops are failing across the country. Now, apparently they're not satisfied with the idea that socialism doesn't work, or socialized medicine, or that you can't tax your way into providing everyone health care at this particular pace. Your thoughts on this and its impact, especially in urban communities, the co-ops closing?
They are closing. It's just like it's hard to find a supermarket in an urban center, you know?
Yeah.
And they call them urban, they call them a supermarket wasteland, or it's hard to find food for the same reason. It's a house of cards, brothers. You know that. Obamacare cannot stand on its own. What they want to do is break the healthcare system. I think they're well on their way to doing that. And then we'll end up with default nationalized healthcare because the government will step in on its white horse to save the day. That's what I think is going on. Will Orrin Hatch do anything to change anything? No, I think he's been in office too long. And he does have a rhino-ish tendency, if you ask me.
He might be going the way of John McCain, who is falling behind Kelly Ward out in Arizona. It was once a even race, but now he looks like he's 3 or 4 points behind Kelly Ward. We may have a new senator from the great state of Arizona. Once again, where can they find Urban Family Talk?
UrbanFamilyTalk.com. That's UrbanFamilyTalk.com. We're on 7 terrestrial stations across the great U.S. We're also internet enabled on UrbanFamilyTalk.com. Potential listener reach between 1.5 and 2 million. Please join us. It'll be a great time. And the exceptional one joined us on Friday. So if you want to catch him again, Friday at noon, you can catch his stellar commentary.
Thank you, sir. God bless you. You have a wonderful evening, and thank you for representing us so well.
You're welcome.
God bless. Ladies and gentlemen, Lonnie Poindexter, Urban Family Talk. I am telling you, one of the best shows on the air, period. I'm just saying, period. We'll be right back right after this message from the great food at Infuse.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of the restaurant, and today I'm walking through some of the meals that we prepare here. So we're making a good salad. We use fresh Italian sausage, like that cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and good. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous Latin tilapia noodles, our fishing grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused beef burgers. So we keep the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck pan patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burgers, we add the sauce and let it cook on it until it gets a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
Order up indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Infuse.com. I am drinking my favorite root beer. This is root beer, people. Trust me, it's root beer. Okay. I love me some root beer.
Hello,
but you know what's missing?
For Tundra Restaurant Supply. We're here in the kitchen.
Thank you. You know what's really missing? My infused burger to go with my root beer. I really miss it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, got to have an infused burger. If you don't, you're missing out. You might as well just give up eating. That's what I'm saying. You gotta try infused burger once more in your life, at least once in your life. I try them often, but hopefully my producer has given me a look as she has gone past my office as I've changed my hat. I hope that you enjoy it. One of my favs. I'm going to teach y'all, man. This hat goes with this shirt. That's what I say. Don't forget Infuse Restaurant, and order yours today. Order yours today. I want to welcome you to the Exceptional Conservative Show. We are live from the nation's capital. That's Washington, D.C. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first of the Republican and then the Democrat. We film on Ustream and live stream. We are also heard on SHR and Pundit Press Media. And we want to thank everybody who tunes in and listens to our program. I especially want to thank everybody, all the ministers who tuned in to the Sunday morning Bible study that we do. An American Conservatives Exploration of the Inspired Word of God. I'm the host of that, and not the underground professor. Got a chance to talk about something that I found very, very captivating and intriguing. And it's the concept of being able to prosper in any condition, any circumstance, any problem. Being able to prosper. And so often those in the Black Lives Matters movement and those radicals like Dr. Michael Hughes on the campus of your local HBCU or at your local state college where they have tenure Often they complain about slavery and how the remnants of slavery have negatively impacted we as a people. And that's quite a stretch, because when you take a look at the same time frame of the Hebrews during the period that they came out of captivity in Egypt, they became a nation, not a very strong nation. They had to build towards it. It took them about 60 years. 60 years before they got to about the 60, 70 years, something like that. Before they got to the point where they were strong. There was a breaking, and then they came back together under Saul, and then under David, and then Solomon. But the bottom line is, when you make that comparison of where the Hebrews were in Goshen, they prospered in spite of their condition. And when they left, they prospered instead of their state of life. Our mindset has to be one that we're willing to put behind us the barriers of our past, move forward, and appreciate the open fields of our future. When it comes to the area of our children should only see the open fields. Now, they may be born in certain conditions, but we need to train and teach our children to reach for the open fields, to go beyond what they've ever expected, what they ever thought they could think or do. But there is an amazing problem in our culture today. That individuals are so locked into their subcultural perversions that they are willing to sacrifice their children, as the Moabites used to sacrifice their children by fire. Exploitation of our children is becoming systematically one of the most dark, dank dangers in our society. And it's very easy to understand why we have gotten to this point. We've gotten to this point because we have never appreciated life, or at least since about the 1970s. 1973 is when Roe v. Wade went through. Since that time period, we've killed 40 million babies. If we would take the number of babies and imply the fact that they actually lived out their lives, we wouldn't need immigration. What? You wouldn't. Why do the Germans now hate Merkel and want to impeach her? Because she thought she could immigrate her population issues away. Prosperity comes when we submit ourselves not to our own will, but to the will of God. Is this an acceptable hat? I got a yay. That's a yay. Amen. Praise the Lord. Thank you. It's a beautiful hat in there. I love it. I want to do something real quick with you, because I'm going to be talking about all of these particular things over the next few days. If you want the meat and potatoes type of shows, you might want to tune in some of the other SHR shows this week. But I'm going to be more Madeline than ever. So, and the reason why I'm going to be Madeline is I think it's time for us to begin finding serious solutions to the areas where we hurt most. Some of those solutions are going to require us to demand some things of people who don't want to be demanded of. Take, for instance, the troubled families here. I want to read to you a little bit more out of the Open Secret story, and I hope that you all will go back. You could have done it if you went to the exceptionalconservativeshow.com. We put it in the chat roll, but you can also go to the Exceptional Conservative Show on Facebook, and click on and read the story there. But I want to show you how devastating it is for the exploitation of children in Twin Cities, Minnesota, St. Paul, Minneapolis. We're talking about a urban culture. We're talking about civilized society. We're talking about many years have elapsed since leaving the subculture within the culture of the Hmong people. And yet, watch what happens. A victim's advocate recalled a girl from Laos who was told by a Hmong suitor from the U.S. that he was single and looking for a wife. When she arrived in the U.S., now this is how bold this perversion is. They literally go to Laos and bring back the little girl. I want you to think about that. You're 40 years old. The belly that you used to have that was a six-pack is now a keg. But you got money, so you go over to Laos visiting family, and you come back and you tell your wife of 20 years, guess what? There's a little girl that will be living with us. Oh, we adopted? Yeah, kind of, sort of, honey. Kind of, sort of. It's kind of sick and twisted, isn't it? I want to read this to you to let you know how perverse our culture has become. And a lot of that is because of the ideological bit that we followed after the Civil War to now. Following the route of the progressives, the Marxists, the socialists, the communists, rather than staying true to the founding fathers' vision for this country. When she arrived in the U.S., he was living with his first wife and children, forgive me. She was forced to live in a shed in the backyard and take over all household duties. Other stories included women abused, forced to have children, and isolated in the home without access to education, employment, or a driver's license. Where's now? Where's the Organization of Women? National Organization? Where are they? Should they be marching? Should they be taking off their bras in front of his home? Shh. That war on women is okay. But Republicans talking about, or conservatives talking about, closing down the Planned Parenthood clinic because you can't get a mammogram there. That's the war on women. We are a deranged society now. Whenever you allow sick people to begin to rule over you, I'm talking about the LGBTQ community, you certainly will allow there to be degradation in your society. Seriously, they've never been cured of their mental illness, but they've just voted it away. We have a subculture that's existing here. An older Hmong woman tells of her husband abandoning her and their 5 children to move to Laos to marry a girl there. Before he left, he spent hours talking to the girl on the phone in front of his wife. When she questioned his behavior, he became violent. Other first wives shared stories of facing depression and being left with little money to raise their children. Now, y'all getting this, right? I hope you're getting this. This is happening. And it's not happening in just Laos or some other small country. This is happening here in the United States of America. I just wanted you to know that. Ken, this is from Dave regarding the now statement. Ken, they're in the same place they run to when we point out abuse of women in Sharia. Yeah, same place. They don't care. Those women don't care. As long as they can get their little condom and their window with a view from an apartment above the Manhattan, they're fine. They don't care about you. They don't care about that little girl in Laos. Come on, what are you talking about, kid? An 84-year-old Maplewood man's obsession with girls in Laos led to his son's death about a year and a half ago. Now, this is murder. We're talking about death here. According to the victim's brother, their father was sending the girls his money. When he had no money left to pay for cable TV, he asked a son to buy it for him. When the son refused, his father shot him. This is this story right here. This is in one community in St. Paul, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Other community members say men diverting time and money to girls overseas is a recurring issue. How about Chung Tao, a teacher at Como Park Senior High, says she comes across a handful of students each year with a mom or dad dealing with such issues. Their parents can become distracted or neglectful. Some fall into depression and struggle with feelings of shame, leading them to fall behind academically or act out. Such stories show the scale of the issue, Hmong community officials said. The outcry is being questioned. All Hmong people respect the law of this country, said Wu Chi, or Chu, forgive me, who is also the executive director of the Hmong American Mediation Center. All Hmong people respect the law of this country? All Americans don't respect the laws of this country. Come on now, sir. Let's be honest. They all go through the legal process with the U.S. Embassy, so we assume everything is correct. This is how you know the immigration crisis is fodder for failure and for voter registration for the socialists here in this country. This is Quang Vang, a member of the Leadership Council, the Hmong Leadership Council, that is, who's going to let you know exactly, simply exactly, why sending 100,000 military-age Middle Eastern radicals to this country is not a good idea. Why would you import your own opposition? Why? Quang Vang said, are there older Hmong men marrying a younger girl? Yes. Are there older women marrying young men? Yes. Just like any culture, white, black, you name it. Do we approve of an 18-year-old marrying a 60-year-old? No. But we have no right to stop them. That's not the point, Quang Vang. We're not talking about the 18-year-old. We're talking about the 12 to 17-year-old. And so I wanted you to hear that, because actually that's a term or a phrase that's used in all of our cultures here in the United States of America, to try to move you off the black of your moral argument. Well, why do you think I have to stop them? They want to be together. They consented. Since when does a 12-year-old consent to having sex? But she said yes, but she's not mature enough to understand the limitations that come with her yes, or what she opens herself up to. And so we have to begin to question the mental acuity of those who happen to practice this. Ladies and gentlemen, these are our children, our babies, whom we've held in our arms, who we've kissed goodnight after reading a bedtime story to them. We've changed their diapers, we've kissed their boo-boos. We've spent money for their school clothes. We've even put them into private schools so they would get the best education possible. And yet, there's always someone willing to defile them. It is not easy being a parent. God would tell you that. It's not very easy being a parent. It's not the best job in all the world. Taste testing tasty cakes is the best job in all the world. At least I believe that. But it's time for us to start coming up with some solutions for our culture and our community. In fact, Dow Tao, a St. Paul City Council member, said finger pointing won't solve the problem. This is an issue that the community has to own as a whole, he said. He said that even some Hmong women are traveling to Laos to marry younger men. There are folks who are clearly doing this to take advantage of people who are in poverty, who are hopeless, and we need to stop that. We are hurting ourselves as a human race and as a community, Dow Tao said. I wanted to close on that. And then, for some of you all, when I come back from this break, I want you to watch a video, and the live stream audience will not have an opportunity to see this, but I want you to watch a video for you live streamers so you understand how defiling our culture is. And in fact, let me just go ahead and get that video. You'll find it, in fact, let me just put that in there. This is terrible. I can't think of anything better to say than this. That this is terrible. This is a grown woman. She is a teacher. She looks like she's a teacher in an urban setting. And it sounds like she is committed to them as a whole. Bring this around so you'll be able to see. Okay. But once you see this, you will probably be as upset and angry as I am about this situation. Watch what they do to this teacher. They're throwing M&Ms at the teacher while she's sitting. They're filming her.
My name is Jim.
How do you feel about this situation? How do you feel? How do you feel about it? What are you doing? I need you to throw away. I need you to throw away. Okay, lady, I'm going to ask you to have a seat. You're on candy. No, Chloe!
I'm gonna smack her ass with a whole bag of M&Ms. I'm going to just say, Cut the camera. Cut the camera.
See, the students over the classroom is virtually watching at this point. You can see this on the Ustream.
You didn't have a seat.
I feel really bad for this teacher.
Sit down in your chair. Sit down in your chair.
Have a seat. You have a seat.
Sit your ass down in your chair.
Have a seat. You need security.
Come on.
Your security's not at the door.
Sit down.
Wherever your security is. You got have a seat.
Sit down in that seat,
I got your back, G, on phobia. We not about to take your shit. Yeah, no, wait. Yeah, we're gonna be some. Oh.
They are threatening the teacher. They are riling each other. They're fighting in the classroom. They're jostling. They're joking. This is your tax dollar in America. This is your tax dollar. There you go. This is your tax dollar at work.
Get up and come with his ass, Johnson. Get low. I'm not playing with those for real.
Now play with me.
There you go, people. Your tax dollars at work. They sure want to tune in to Ustream and watch this one, huh? Fighting and wrestling all over the floor. Now the young man has placed a woman in a sexual position on the floor. In the classroom, people. In the classroom. Yeah, the court's language, of course. Forgive us for that. Teachers looking like, I wish I could get out of this classroom. When I had the opportunity, I should have gone off to college.
Give me the shit! Give me all the shit!
Alright, John, we gotta go.
There you go, people. I just wanted to play that for you because I wanted you to see your tax dollars at work. I want you to understand, and of course you're not going to get this from the Black Lives Matter group. You know, hey, obviously I'm making a show of all of this, per se. Taking advantage of the young man. That's what I'm doing. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our school system today. In many cases in urban America. And these are the first people that will try to march and tell you that you're the racist, that you're the one keeping them back from education, that you're the one who's stopping them from achieving, that you're the one. It couldn't possibly be. It's a simple fact, quite frankly, that 400 years of slavery is the reason why we're not academically performing. Maybe it's the harshness of the tests that we are asking our children to take. Maybe there is a racial bent for the tests. Maybe. For those of you who want to see this, you can easily go to the Exceptional Conservative Show on Facebook, and then you will be able to see it. I'll put the chat, put the link right in there. Okay, you'll be able to scroll down. You'll see the actual tomfoolery in the classroom. But I wanted to show you that, to say this to you in finality. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about tonight is the introduction to some of the problems in our community. But especially one of the big problems is that we don't appreciate life. We have never fully appreciated liberty. And apparently we have dulled our senses to the pursuit of happiness. Woman of God who sat in that classroom, I pray for you. I pray for your strength. I pray for your wisdom. I pray for your perfect peace. I pray that teachers around this country who have to deal with students like this on a daily basis, I pray that God give you everything that you need to overcome the world, to protect your heart, and help all the other students who are really trying. We lose very good teachers every year. I wanted to be a teacher. I'm not a teacher today. My wife is. God bless her soul. But I'm going to encourage you to pray for your teachers. A man once told me, live bravely so that you don't die cowardly. I promise you I'm going to do that every single day of my life. I'm going to ask you to always remember, God blessed America. Now it's time for America to bless God. We'll be back tomorrow night with the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. God bless, and pray for your country. It needs God.